Okay, fam, welcome back. So we're going to go over the Grayscale Trust today, as well as a whole host of other things. Too many to name here. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I want to start on is the dividend declarations. We'll start with that. So as you guys know, the yieldmax ETFs, some of them have come out and announced what they're going to be paying this week. So we'll take a look at that. I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Group A. Again, if I'm wrong about this, correct me in the comments below, but I think it's Group A. So yeah, YMAX, YMAG, they always pay weekly. That doesn't change, but these ones down here, I believe they are actually Group A. So YMAX, 22.5 cents roughly, YMAG, 15 cents, Tesla, 59 cents. The inverse Tesla is 45 cents, GUI, 37 cents. YBIT 67 cents, ORC 28 cents, XOMO roughly about 34 cents, Snowy or Snowy, whatever you want to call it, 56 cents, TSMY 89 cents, and that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good week. Can't complain. I mean, we have YMAX, YMAG, Tesla, GUI, YBIT, and ORC. Personally, I'm just fine with Tesla paying only 60 cents a share. It doesn't always need to pay $1 a share. If it paid a little bit less, like half that, I would be okay with that too. But some people really want that $1 per share. Me personally, I could take it either way, if I'm being completely honest. All right, so next one here we have is QDTE. Well, we actually have three. So QDTE for this week, again, these are weekly paying ones. So 20.5 cents here on QDTE, and the next one here is going to be XDTE, which is the S&P 500 version. The Q is for the NASDAQ, the X is for the S&P, and the R is going to be for the Russell. So S&P version here, 15.5 cents, still pretty good in my opinion. The markets haven't been as volatile lately. Again, you guys got to understand, we're in peak uncertainty, peak volatility time frame, okay? I mean, there's a whole convergence of things going on right now. There's another FOMC meeting coming up, I believe, on the 6th and the 7th, the day after the elections. You got the elections on the 5th next month. You have the vast majority of the largest bulk of earnings is happening last week, right now, and next week. On top of that, you have a bunch of different economic data coming out. So there's kind of really a lot of stuff going on at once. So markets, rightfully so, are a little bit cautious. But once we get past the elections and the FOMC, I think it's basically pretty much clear skies after that. The market should be marching much higher after that point. So Russell 2000 version here, RDTE, we're at 26 cents per share. We're still meaning to eventually pick some of those up. And just to give you guys a brief overview of the portfolio, so we did get out of Moderna. I'll talk about that in a minute. We were going to stay in it, but it just, I mean, man, the volatility on that thing was insane. So usually we would not do that, but in this case, it actually did make sense. So you can see the positions here. We got, so there's GUI. Okay, we got YMAX, Tesla. We have Tesla on another portfolio as well. QDTE. YBIT, still have AMC shares, actually thinking about adding to that at some point because, again, the meme stocks have a very heavy correlation with the Bitcoin bull run, crypto bull run. Again, I'll talk about that in a minute. So we got XDTE and yeah, so there is some ORC there too, and we have some ORC on other portfolios as well. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the earnings. So the most important earnings I'm going to look at, there's a lot of different earnings here. I mean, tons and tons and tons of different companies. The ones we're going to look at is Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, MicroStrategy, and Riot. So we're going to look at those ones, okay? You guys can look at this in your own time if you want to. Just go to the nasdaq.com / you see basically the web link up there. You can go look at it yourself if you want to in your own time. So let's start with the crypto ones, then we'll go into the big tech. So Riot had mixed earnings. Not too worried about that. I mean, Riot's been in existence for a long time. They've been through, I believe, 2 or 3 cycles at this point. You can see they've been around since 2018. Really not too worried about their earnings. So let's go ahead and go into MSTR. Okay, so MSTR, there was a bit of a pullback. I'm not mistaken. We'll look at these on Robinhood as well. So they had a, I don't even know how this is possible, but they had a 1,300% miss on their earnings. It could be potentially pure speculation here. It could potentially be chalked up to Michael Saylor buying insane amounts of Bitcoin. Could have something to do with that. I don't know. Again, at this point, MicroStrategy is more or less pretty much a Bitcoin play. It's most of the market's not really going to see MicroStrategy any longer at this point as anything other than a crypto play because they have so much Bitcoin. And of course, their stock is based on their software company. I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying they have an obscene amount of Bitcoin. Okay, they have 200,000 plus Bitcoin. All right, so Coinbase did also miss earnings. Again, not really a shock. Most of the retail crowd is not really going to FOMO in and kick the volume up for Coinbase until we get Bitcoin past 74,000 and going to all-time highs. I'll talk about that in a minute. So the next one here is going to be Microsoft. Microsoft and Meta. Okay, just going to have to give it a second here. So Microsoft and Meta did actually beat earnings. And again, these are all after hours. The Mag 7 for the most part is after hours. So we got a beat here on Microsoft. No surprise there. So basically it pulled back from where it was. In my opinion, I think what's going on here is probably a lot of people positioned in kind of around here, August, September. It had been going up. They're probably just taking profits. And again, you guys got to understand, any of these dips that you see in the markets from an earnings miss, they're likely just going to get bought up anyways, because there's a lot of people, especially people that invest in Microsoft and Meta for their dividends and the growth, right? Dividend investors, or even people that are position trading, they're going to be looking at these dips as dip buying opportunities. That's what's going to happen. Okay. So in my opinion, I think they're just going to keep going up. I don't think that's going to change because, again, a lot of these people are very bullish on these companies. They're going to see these dips and be like, "Ooh, I want a piece of that," right? That's kind of just how these people are. Some people DCA, some people don't touch it until they see a dip, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a nice dip. Let me go ahead and buy that." That's what Wall Street pretty much does all day long. So, and Warren Buffett too. He does that as well. Okay, so Meta, this thing is, well, I mean, basically before earnings, it was at all-time highs. So same thing here, pretty much everybody and their brother probably got in back here that, is considered to be smart money, and then rode it on up. And then, of course, maybe probably took profit at the earnings, maybe even after earnings, and was like, well, it's already up like from this swing low down here. Let's say they sold maybe somewhere at these lows, kind of at the base of this formation here. Still up 30%. Why not take profit, right? And again, they did beat. So we'll take a look at this on Robinhood real quick, and then I'll get into the rest of the stuff. So let's start with Riot. Okay, so you can see Riot's down a little bit. Again, am I too worried about it? Not really. You can see it based out here. It's already starting to recover. You will notice a pattern here that the same kind of formation is playing out somewhat similarly with MSTR. You can see this huge drop, and then ultimately it just is going higher as well. And then Coinbase, kind of somewhat of a similar thing, although those ones lagging a little bit. Like I said, these things will drop, and then people will probably just buy the dip on it anyways. I'm not too worried about that, okay? So Microsoft, nice little drop here, but again, I am expecting that to get bought up. Microsoft is, of course, pushing, Meta is pushing against all-time highs, but Microsoft is not really that far from all-time highs anyway, so it doesn't shock me that people are taking profits here. And same thing with Meta, just a slight pullback off all-time highs, not a big deal. So in terms of the three crypto-related stocks, pretty much my thesis here is this, okay? Look, Coinbase, MicroStrategy, and Riot are likely going to really start smashing past all-time highs once Bitcoin gets past 74,000 with a monthly or weekly close. Once we see that, and the market start ripping, or Bitcoin and the native space starts ripping to the moon, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, and Riot are going to start ripping with it. Okay, all the miners, all the grayscale trusts, all the Bitcoin related stocks and ETFs, they're going to start screaming higher. Okay. The earnings matter, but it doesn't matter, in my opinion, as much as the Bitcoin bull run does, because once Bitcoin gets going, everything else is going to go with it. So that's kind of my thought process here on that. So the next thing I want to talk about is SMCI. I'm not sure I'll be able to even get all this in one video. So SMCI had this humongous drop. Again, you guys can look into the news on this. It's a pretty volatile stock, but even a drop like this is pretty substantial. Because we actually closed out of mRNA, we're considering maybe taking a position on SMCI instead. We're going to watch this one probably for the next couple of days. Again, we're kind of looking for it to base out here at 24. You can see this drop is pretty gnarly. It's a pretty ugly drop. Again, it's currently sitting at 32, so a little bit below this. But we're thinking about taking a call debit spread on this in place of Moderna. Okay. Because again, when this thing moves up, it really moves up fast. I mean, it doesn't take a long time for this thing to take off to the moon, as you guys can see. So there's that. I want to talk about the Moderna one. So we were going to hold this one, but I'm not even sure if I can look at it at this point because it's already closed. But yeah, there was an insane level of volatility on this thing. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like the portfolio was moving like $4,000 or $5,000 per direction, like spiking in either direction randomly throughout the trading day. And we saw that and we're like, okay, dude, yeah, we can't have this, because if that continues and it gets even more aggressive, it could ultimately lead to a margin call, and we don't want that. So we had to take that one off for a small loss. Again, not too worried about it. All right, so with all that being out of the way and being done and said, and in terms of the earnings, I'm not too worried about the earnings. Again, you guys got to understand, like a lot of these investors will be looking to buy the dips on these stocks that miss, and the ones that beat will ultimately go higher. That's just kind of the nature of the game. But like I've told you guys before, once we get past the elections, pretty much everything should be going up from that point. And I did read a comment saying, oh yeah, there's a big red day after a big green day. I mean, guys, there's going to be pullbacks in a bull run. Okay, that's going to happen. If you think that's not going to happen, then you might want to check your expectations. Okay, it's going to happen. Usually when there is a bull run, there's some nasty pullbacks. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I mean, Bitcoin, we showed you guys in the Bitcoin videos the last time in 2021 during the mid-cycle dump, there was about a 55% drop in 3 weeks. I don't think that's going to happen this time, but, these pullbacks are pretty docile. They're not really that much of a big deal. They're pretty small, actually. So as far as I'm concerned, not too worried about it. All right, so LTCN still looking bullish here, looking for the close above this kind of channel pattern. Of course, you have the inverse head and shoulders. The gap got filled here, obviously. So as far as I'm concerned right now, kind of that $15 to roughly about $17 area is going to be a buy area, 25 to 27 above head, 54 above that. You guys already know the all-time high is at $510. So we'll talk about the kind of the maximum potential profit targets in the later video. So 227% gain on this one. BCHG pullback off of resistance. That's not surprising. Probably some people looking to take profits, position traders or whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. So kind of around I'd say about $7 to $8 is going to be support right now. And then you got roughly anywhere from 10 to 20, 24 at the swing high. If I just measure from the EMAs, assuming that is where the pullback stops, roughly about 220% gain. HZEN, this one still looks bullish, even though it's red on the day. This is the weekly candles. We're not looking at one day. Again, like I always say on the channel, when in doubt, zoom out. Okay. If it looks bad on the daily, go look at if it looks bad on the 4 hourly, go look at the daily. If it looks bad on the daily, go look at the weekly. If an individual stock looks bad, go take a look at that entire sector or the market. Just trying to keep things in perspective, right? So HZEN, Still green on the MACD and on the charts. Still moving up. That's very bullish. So support here 340 to 420. Kind of the targets, immediate targets 680 to about 1240. I'd say it looks pretty good. If you're looking for a pullback, maybe somewhere around the EMAs. So 220% gain on that one. ETCG, this thing is still above this bearish descending triangle or falling triangle, whatever you want to call it. It's a bearish pattern, but again, I did tell you guys likely it was going to break out to the upside, which it looks like it's going to. So that's good. All right, so A60 to about $10 support there. And then targets 13, I'd say about 13.20 to $20, somewhere in there. So maximum potential move here, roughly about 130%. Of course, it could easily go above here. We're just talking about immediate targets, okay? It's likely going to go much higher than $20. I mean, don't think for a second it's probably just going to stop there. Okay, so ETH, potential W pattern here, also cup and handle. Target for the cup and handle is the previous all-time high at roughly about $48. The target for the W pattern is the top of the move, so pretty much right here at about $36. There is a gap that needs to be filled between looks like about 23 to 25. The buy level I'm looking at is down here at 1850. It may not retrace to there. It may not. We'll just have to wait and see. So 156% move here. GBAT, nasty little pullback. Again, not surprising. Probably some people taking profit kind of as they saw it approach this level up here. And of course, the EMAs, you're going to have your bears looking at the EMAs like, oh yeah, we're going to short it right here, guys. It's just the nature of the game, y'all. I mean, it's just trading. If it's below the EMAs, technically speaking, it is bearish. If it's above it, it's bullish. And traders are going to see it as such. I mean, that's just the way that they operate. So 450 to 5 support. Targets could be anywhere from 780 all the way up to the all-time high up here at 32. Once it pushes against the all-time highs, it's likely going to snap it and go even higher. So 630% gain here. FILG, FILG, nasty little pullback. Again, this thing could reverse immediately tomorrow. This is a weekly candle, okay? So it could change directions fast. We'll just have to wait and see on that one, okay? So as of right now, my buy area is still between 35 to 42. If this does actually close below, which I highly doubt it's going to do, I mean, maybe look at the bottom of this candle, maybe about $25. And if not, I mean, you could wait to see if it gets down to 480 to $12. I don't think that's likely. It could happen, but very unlikely in my opinion. $400 is going to be the all-time high. Again, this kind of in between the zones here is a little hard to read. The markets do that intentionally to try to fool people because they don't want people to know where the true bottom is going to be. Again, that's just how market makers and people that run the markets, that's just kind of how they do it. So 1,050% gain here. GLIV is sitting at the bottom of support, so 1260 to $15. Again, the all-time high is at 80. Measured move here, about 550% gain. G-Link, still sitting at support. That's good. So 40 to 46, and then targets could be anywhere from 70 to 220. Measured move here, roughly about 490% gain. GSOL, still moving sideways. A little red on the week, but again, it's mostly just sideways. I'm not too concerned about it. So 300 to 350, and then 580 is going to be that all-time high up there. Okay. So roughly about 95-ish percent. GXLM, still looking pretty good. So buy area is roughly about 1450 to 24. Immediate target would be anywhere from 52 to 71. 380% gain. Let's see, Mana. So support as of right now, $10, and then the next level roughly about 1770 to 20. I guess this would be the all-time high or the swing high. I'm not sure which. Okay, yeah, it is the all-time high actually. So yeah, that would be the all-time high up there. Maximum move here, roughly about 570% gain. Zcash still going sideways. So 320 to $6, and then the targets immediately above head would be about 7. I'd say about 780 to about 10.5. All right, so if you're looking for the best opportunity, it's down here at the bottom of the channel. So that'd be about a 220% gain. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.